What's up, everybody? It's GombitX. Welcome back to another Jumpstart event. These are the events for 2,000 gold, 400 gems. You get 3 Jumpstart packs. You pick one of them, and then you get another 3 Jumpstart packs and pick one of those, and that is your deck for the event. And you also get a nice rare or mythic rare reward from Jumpstart for your first and second wins. No matter how many times you lose, you get to keep playing forever. Even no matter how many times you win, you don't have to stop at 2 wins. I just tend to do that so I can get new decks and new cards. So anyways, I'm going to be playing this deck until I get my 2 wins, and then I will end the video here. So I have played a lot of Jumpstart, so I expect that we'll be seeing a lot of the themes that I've already played with, like goblins, because I've done a lot of Jumpstart off videos, and I've done, I think, 4 videos of Jumpstart already, and this will be the 5th there. So since I've already done goblins, I'll go ahead and do lands or cats. I think I'll roll with lands. I know that I've seen some opponents playing lands, and there's some really cool cards you can open in there. I think there's Oracle of Moldiah that lets you play 2 lands a turn, which is really cool, and it lets you play lands off of the top of your deck. And then there's like Ulvenwald Hydra is like a 6-mana creature that has power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and it searches for a land from your deck when it comes into play. So there's some really cool cards I'd like to get my hands on in the lands pack. So now we have spooky, goblins, and predatory, all of which are themes that I already have the basic land for. But I don't actually have Muxus from the goblins deck yet. I don't think. And that's a really cool card that I'd like to open up, so we'll do Lands and Goblins as this deck's theme. And it looks like we did get the Ulvenwald Hydra, that is the artwork on our deck box. I would definitely recommend when you're going into the event to go ahead and take a quick peek at your deck list so that you can see all the rares and mythics and all the cool stuff you opened, because if you are just playing until 2 wins, it's entirely possible that you'll get those 2 wins without even seeing all the cards in your deck. So let's see what kind of cool stuff we have in terms of stuff that people are playing a lot. We definitely have good rares and mythics I can see at the top there, but there is another card here that's really exciting, and that is Zendikar's Royal. This is a pretty cool card because people are using this in Modern with Risen Reef. Risen Reef says whenever an elemental comes into play, you get to reveal the top card of your library, and if it is a land, you get to put it into play. If it's a non-land, you get to put it into your hand. So Risen Reef with Zendikar's Royal is a pretty insane combo, because if you hit a land on top of your deck, you put that land into play, then you make a 2/2 elemental. Since you just played an elemental, you do it again. You look at the top card, if it's a land, put it into play again, make another 2/2 elemental. You can get just tons and tons of elementals and tons of card draw off of Risen Reef with Zendikar's Royal. So this card's a really cool card for historic. I think I said modern earlier. That was a misspeak. This is a cool card for historic for sure. And then our rares are fantastic. We have Ulvenwald Hydra, the mythic rare, cool Hydra card I was talking about, and Muxus Goblin Grandee, another card that is making waves in historic right now. In a good goblin deck, you can cheat this out early, play it on maybe turn 3 with cards like Skirk Prospector that lets you sacrifice a goblin to get a red mana, and then once this comes into play, you can get up to 5 goblins, or up to 6 goblins even, from the top of your library just into play immediately. So a really scary, really explosive card in the goblin decks, especially because there's Goblin War Chief and Goblin Chieftain, both of which give all of your goblins haste, so you can just have a really big attack the second Muxus hits the board. That'll often just be lethal. So Muxus and Ulvenwald Hydra, pretty fantastic rares. I'm very happy with this Lands Goblins deck. Let's see how well it plays in the Jumpstart format itself, though. The other thing I'd definitely recommend anytime you play a Jumpstart event is to add your thing to your decks. Add your deck to your decks so you can play against any of your friends in future challenges with all your Jumpstart decks. Because otherwise it would take a while to just rebuild it in the deck creator screen. Because you'd have to be like, wait, what all did I have? And it's basically impossible for you to remember every single common and uncommon you had in there. So if you're looking to play more Jumpstart, save it to your decks, play with your friends. They've got the nice little friends list. They didn't used to have that on Arena for the longest time. But now that they have that, there's direct chat and challenges and all that stuff. All the goodies. So I'm keeping this hand because it has that Thriving Bluff for green mana. Otherwise, it looks pretty bad in terms of color distribution. But thanks to the Thriving Bluff allowing to tap for green, I can get this Fertilid out. And this Fertilid can grab me a basic land from my deck, put it into play tapped by removing a counter from it. So since it comes with 2 counters, I can grab 2 lands with my Fertilid, and then I'm 100% in this game in terms of my mana. I'll have my 6 mana for my Ulvenwald Hydra, which is the most expensive card in my deck in terms of mana cost. As you saw before, Ulvenwald Hydra and Muxus are my 6 mana cards, and they're the biggest ones I have. Opponent starts with an Oneirophage, flying, and whenever they draw a card, they put a +1/+1 counter on it. Kind of want to kill it with a Volley Veteran. Can't do that quite yet, though. Volley Veteran will deal damage to a creature equal to the number of goblins I control. Since I only controlled 1 goblin, if I put Volley Veteran into play there, I'd only do 1 damage to it. So I'm going to play Beetleback Chief first, since this comes with 2 1/1 goblins, so now I have 3 goblins on my board. Once I play Volley Veteran will be able to do 4 damage to a creature. So that should still be able to kill the Oneirophage, even if they draw like 1 more card. If they cast a spell that lets them draw 2 cards, I'm not going to have lethal to it, which will be unfortunate. Ooh, with a Goblin Instigator, I can definitely still have lethal. The fact that they didn't play anything is pretty concerning to me. Maybe they'll have an instant speed card that would allow them to draw 2 cards here, but hopefully not. Ooh, Affagard Hound. Very interesting. So they have the Dogs deck. This is a 3 mana 2/2 with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +0/+3 till end of turn, making their Oneirophage large enough to survive the 4 damage. I'm actually not going to attack with Fertilid because I want to make sure I can cast this Hydra later, so I need my Fertilid mana. I will attack with the Beetleback Chief, though. If they want to trade their 2/2 dog for my 2/2 goblin, that's fine. And we will take the trade. So our opponent has the Well-Read theme, as you can tell by the Island of Books, one of the coolest lands in Jumpstart, in my opinion. And then the Dogs theme with this nice Dogs Plains. So Well-Read Dogs versus Goblin Lands, Lands Goblins. If you say the full name of my decks, they don't really work as well as Well-Read Dogs as a deck name. Alright, so now I have Outnumber, and they're tapped out, so I can definitely outnumber their Oneirophage, but just to be super safe about it, I'll play a Goblin Instigator first. So Outnumber deals damage equal to the number of creatures I control to something, so that is now going to be 6 damage, definitely kills that. And all they have left is a 0/4 Defending Bookcase, definitely from the Well-Read deck. So we get to send in with all our creatures, do a couple damage. Now our opponent has released the dogs, create 4 1/1 dogs. And now my little 1/1 goblins definitely look a lot less impressive. There is my 6th mana, so I really don't need the Fertilid counters anymore. Makeshift Munitions is going to make sure I still get good use out of these goblin tokens. I can sacrifice them to start doing damage to specific targets later. The cool thing about Ulvenwald Hydra is, unlike Fertilid and a lot of other cards, it does allow me to search for any land, not just a basic land, and put it into play. So I got to grab my Thriving Grove. Now they have pacified my Ulvenwald Hydra. Not the best, it's definitely a little sad, but I do still have Makeshift Munitions. At least I can sacrifice the Hydra, maybe get rid of a dog with it. I'll go ahead and start doing that. We'll start doing some munitions with our creatures that are already just basically killed by these enchantments. Alright, so now I can Awakener Druid. Ooh, the auto-tapper screwed me there. Would have preferred to tap Thriving Grove or Thriving Bluff for it, because Awakener Druid only makes a a forest, a creature. I'm actually not going to attack here, because now I can use Fertilid to just take 2 more lands out of my deck, just so I can stop drawing lands in the late game. Just so I'm less likely to draw lands, I should say. More likely to draw relevant cards, like a Muxus or something. Rambunctious Mutt. That's pretty huge. That's going to get rid of my makeshift munitions, which is very unfortunate, because that card was going to be doing a lot of work with all these 1/1 tokens. I guess I can kill their dog tokens at the cost of my goblin tokens. That's probably for the best, because we know that we have Muxus as our rare, and Muxus doesn't actually make your goblins bigger. It just puts more goblins on the field and makes itself bigger. So we don't have anything that's going to give our goblins +1/+1 throughout this game, so they're just going to be 1/1s to trade into their 1/1s, whereas the dog deck could very well have Pack Leader in it, which gives all their dogs +1/+1. So I'm just going to take the trade with the dogs for the goblins just right there. And now I'm going to grab some lands, just to make sure I'm not drawing any more. I could just get like every single mountain out of my deck. I'm going to pass here, that way I can block with Fertilid and then respond by using its ability. I'm very unlikely to be in a position where I have to block, though. I don't think they'll attack into my 4/5 forest. But just in case, I might as well, because I don't need to grab the land until my next turn starts up. Just want to grab that land before my draw step. Alright. Let's just grab all our mountains, because it's, I don't know, it's funnier. Alright, Wildheart Invoker's a pretty good draw. We've got a ton of mana out here, so we get to start using that ability for 8 mana to give target creature +5/+5 and trample till end of turn. So now we can start sending in with these 1/1 goblins, treating them like 6/6 tramples instead. That'll be pretty massive. Opponent does have a Tolarian Kraken now, which is pretty nice. Whenever they draw a card, they can pay 1 mana to tap or untap target creature. Ooh, a Feral Hydra as well. Alright, well, instead of attacking this turn, I'm just going to play this Feral Hydra, because that's pretty huge. Make an 8/8. Now we're probably going to start targeting that with Wildheart Invoker's ability for 8 mana. And if we ever get enough mana, I guess we need 1 more land, then we'd have enough mana to start putting a +1/+1 counter on Feral Hydra and giving it +5/+5 trample every turn. Opponent does put a Curiosity on Cloud Reader Sphinx. That'll be pretty nice for them. I don't have anything to block that flyer, so now they get to draw a card every time it deals damage to me. So we can definitely try to dig for an out to kill our Feral Hydra. I'm at 9, so I do die in only 3 more attacks of the Cloud Reader Sphinx. Plus this Suspicious Bookcase for 3 mana can make any creature unblockable that turn. Unfortunately, our opponent did secure our Wildheart Invoker away, so we can't give things trample anymore, which is a big deal. We might just lose from that, because we're on a very fast clock. Because they've got the flyer, plus they can give their 4/6 unblockable each turn. So we need to just get really aggressive. We've got tons of chump blockers, so we can just send in like this. And then we could trade our 6/4 for their 4/6. They could block our 4/5 with the 4/6 and they just bounce off each other, but I like sending it in this way. That way, if they do want to trade the 6/4, we are getting a bit more damage in there. Plus, I can even shock the 4/6 if they block our 4/5 forest. So that's actually really good. Didn't really think about that until I already sent in with the attack, but that would be a huge argument for attacking here as well. So I'm glad I did that, because I'm definitely going to shock this Tolarian Kraken so that it can't come at me with the Suspicious Bookcase. So they do have 4 power, blocking our 6/4, so the 6/4 will die. We do get to do 6 damage to them, and they have 7 toughness, so we'll probably just kill the Rambunctious Mutt there over the Erratic Visionary. And now I'm going to shock the Tolarian Kraken so that that will take 6 damage total, 4 from the forest and 2 from the shock, killing that as well. Alright, that turn went pretty well for us. This is still kind of a close game. I definitely think I'm in the lead now, but with that Cloud Reader Sphinx, they get to draw another card here and put me to 6 life. Probably, hopefully drawing them a chump blocker for them. If they draw a removal spell, that'd be really good as well. Just a land. So I am dead in 2 more turns. But our opponent does have to chump block the Feral Hydra at least. They're just going to take 4, go to 4. Draw a card, discard a card. Now they're at 4 life, so they are dead next turn. They have to find a way to kill me right now, because if they don't attack with anybody, they can block my 8/8, block my 4/5, and block a 1/1, but then they'll take 4. So I believe that Teferi's Ageless Insight off the top means that that is a win for me. Oh, I suppose they do get one final draw off the Cloud Reader Sphinx with Ageless Insight doubling their draws. That'll be 2 cards off the top here. So if they get an answer out of the top 2, that would be very unfortunate for us. But they need something good. Just a land so far. And a Supply Runners puts a +1/+1 counter on all their creatures. They again still only have 3 blockers though, which is not going to be enough to survive my 7 attackers. Actually, exactly enough attackers to finish them off. And they let the 4/5 through, so they're just extra dead as well, but they were dead either way they blocked there. So that was a very close game, very fun way to start off this Jumpstart event. Whew, that was pretty crazy. We'll see what our first rare reward is. Come on, something I don't have yet. Ooh, oh my god, a really great reward. Another card that might make some waves in Historic. I haven't seen it a lot yet. I've just seen a ton of goblins, some Risen Reef shenanigans, but Veto with Exquisite Blood is an infinite combo. Veto says whenever you gain life, each opponent loses that much life, and then Exquisite Blood says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So with those two together, if you gain 1 life, your opponent loses 1 life, and then if your opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. So it just chains together until you've drained your opponent of all their life off of only 2 cards. It's a 2-card combo, so not too hard to pull off. It's just a bit expensive mana-wise, and there are some fast decks in Historic, as we've seen with the Goblin decks that run Muxus and try to cheat that into play early. But I do think it's something very much worth pulling and worth looking into. Very nice card overall. So I'm doing really well on the pulls in this Jumpstart event. I'm super happy with that. Alright, here we are in round 2. Maybe the final round if I can win this. But we'll see. Not a terrible start. It is chock full of lands, but that's kind of what the land half of our deck wants. Hand is pretty dependent on what we draw. We're definitely hoping to draw non-land. First draw is a land. That is a little bit worrying. So this Elemental Uprising can make one of our lands a 4/4 haste until end of turn, and it must be blocked if able. So if our opponent plays some creature that we really want to kill, we can try to get them to block our 4/4. Our opponent is on Tree Folk or Tree Hugging, something like that, and the +1 green deck. So now we'll drop down our Sylvan Ranger. This lets us search for a basic land and put it into our hand, thinning our deck out, getting a few more of the lands out of our deck. So hopefully as to not draw them next turn. Opponent does have a Snare Spinner. Oh wow, I'm drawing a lot of lands. Alright, I am going to go ahead and use this Elemental Uprising. Makes our mountain a 4/4 that has to be blocked this turn if able. So, Snare Spinner will block the mountain and die to that, and I'll get 2 damage through. Now we're 100% reliant on drawing well. Or at least drawing decently. Not just lands. Okay. At least our opponent hasn't really done anything either. They may have the same problem. Oh boy, nope. That's a nope to that. That's a 6/6 trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under their control, they draw a card. So, it's not looking good for us at all. Now, every time they play a creature, they're drawing another card, which means they're very likely to draw way more cards than me this game, play a lot more creatures for that very reason. Yep, there's a Wildwood Scourge, which draws them another card, potentially another creature. And that has trample, so I can't even chump block it. If I block, it'll do all the excess damage to my face anyway. This looks like this game is just not gonna happen. I just kept a risky hand and got absolutely destroyed for it. We drew way too many lands when we needed to draw. We needed to draw multiple non-lands for this hand to work at all. Now our opponent is definitely reaping the benefits of us not playing anything almost all game. Now they are just going off the rails on a value train. Just drawing a card every time they play a dude. Got a million counters on their creatures, so they're coming in for the full 14 to finish me off there. If I played a Goblin Commando earlier, I could have survived that turn, but I wanted to wait until maybe I could actually kill something with it or do something with it. Just feel like it did not impact the board in a relevant manner, really. So that's why I just held that in my hand. Well, looks like we're heading into a round 3 in this event. That's fine with me. I'd like to see some more decks. I think the only theme out of Jumpstart that I haven't pulled yet that I really want to pull before the Jumpstart event ends would be the Phyrexian theme. I really want that Phyrexian swamp. Looks really, really cool. Let's see what our opponent's playing here. Definitely a... Well, it's still a bit risky, because now I have the opposite problem where I really need to draw lands, because if I'm just playing a Shock and a Goblin Instigator, that's not going to do it. I suppose I can also play Feral Hydra on turn 2 just as a 1/1 if I'm stuck on mana, but we'd prefer not to do that. So our opponent is on Dinosaurs from their forest, as you can see with those dinosaurs in the background, and that is the Predatory Forest, since I have played with Predatory a few times. They do start with a Drowsing Pteranodon, very powerful card. For only 2 mana, this is a 3/3. It does have Defender, but as soon as they control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets to attack as though it didn't have Defender, which is a really good combo with cards like Cetessan Training. Anything to give that 1 more power, and it'll be fine to attack because it counts itself when it's looking for 4 power or greater creatures. So I actually have a lot of stuff to do turn 3, turn 5, turn 6. I've got plenty of late game plays, so I'm actually just going to play my Feral Hydra as a 1/1. Just to get more things on this board. To actually play a card. Because Shock also is not going to kill anything. I highly doubt in the Dinosaur deck there's going to be much of anything I can kill for 2 damage by itself, but maybe I can use this Shock like I did in the first round to try to get one of my creatures to trade up into a bigger creature, like how my 4/5 was able to kill a 4/6 with the power of Shock at its side. So I'm gonna leave back a 1/1 token so that I could potentially chump block Pteranodon with a 1/1 and Shock it to do 3 damage total to it to get it off the board. Once our opponent starts playing bigger creatures, hopefully we'll have bigger creatures of our own, with Awakener Druid making a 4/5, and Ulvenwald Hydra being at least a 6/6. Actually, at least a 7/7, because we won't be able to cast that till we have 6 lands out, and when we cast it, it'll grab another land, so it'll grab us our 7th land. Alright, looks like we did get the Pteranodon off the board, but our opponent is at 5 mana. Plenty of mana to start playing more dinosaurs or predatory cards. Looks like they just are grabbing more lands. So I'm going to actually... This is another point where the auto-tapper is being very dumb, because Awakener Druid will allow me to animate a forest. So I really need to not tap a forest there, so that I can get in for 4 extra damage, put him down to 8 real quick. So I wanted to make sure I did not make the same mistake that I did last time of just letting the auto-tapper do its thing, because the auto-tapper sometimes makes pretty big mistakes like that can cost you something like 4 damage, or even just a blocker at a very inopportune time. So I'm just going to set up to be able to play Ulvenwald Hydra next turn, since that 6/6 Colossal Dreadmaw blocks all of our stuff really well. If I attack with everybody, they block the 4/5. They do take 4 if I attack with everybody, so maybe it's worth it. Try to go wide and kill them real quickly. Now that I think of it, yeah, I probably should have just sent in with everybody. Ooh. And it's possible that'll cost me, because with a Galta as a 12/12 the next turn, I'm actually under a huge amount of pressure. Now we'll trade off with the Colossal Dreadmaw. Unless they have a Titanic Growth. If they have a Titanic Growth, I'm very dead no matter how I block. Even if I block with like everybody, they can just kill all my creatures. Okay, nice. Got to get rid of the Dreadmaw at least, but now Galt is coming in. Alright, I didn't think that through entirely, because now... My forest was a 4/5, so since my 4/5 forest died, I don't have the mana for Ulvenwald Hydra. So that's rough. Now I can Goblin Commando or Zendikar Royal or Dryad Greenseeker. Nothing can chump block Galta though, so I think I am just going to die to Galta. I think looking back at it this game, I think I should have attacked with just everybody that one turn, let them eat my 4/5, put them down to 4 life. Because then the turn after I could just do the same thing, send in with all my 1/1s, and then cast Goblin Commando to do... Oh wait, Goblin Commando only does damage to creatures. Okay, well, if Goblin Commando could do damage to players, then I could potentially have used him to finish them off after 2 turns of swinging. Since he doesn't, I think it probably still would have been better to just send in with everybody, but it would not have killed them entirely. Would have put them under a lot more pressure. Maybe I could have killed them in 3 turns before I died to the Galta, just by playing more creatures onto the board. Yeah, now we're just very dead, so that's going to be time to scoop them up. Don't have anything that can stop that 12 trample damage. Very rough game there. Definitely could have went an alternate route at the end with how I chose to play. And I think it would have worked out better. Don't know for sure if I would have won, but I would have gotten much closer. Alright, so we're heading into round 4, actually. Turns out the Lands Goblins is not doing incredibly hot, but 2-2 would be exactly average, so if we win this game, it's a purely average run. That's all fine with me. I think this hand is great. We have 3 mana, so we can cast Cultivate, which will grab us 2 more lands from our deck, which means in hand here we basically have 5 mana, which is enough to cast our Vastwood Zendikar. So we can cast everything in our hand, plus with 5 lands we can cast most of the cards in our deck. There is one of the only cards in our deck we wouldn't be able to cast with 5 mana. Ulvenwald Hydra, we do need 6 mana for that one, but we should be able to draw at least 1 land by the time we have 5 mana on the field. Let's put the mountain on the battlefield, just even it out. I'm going to send in with these 1/1 goblins because the Lightwalker will gain flying as soon as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. So as soon as they play anything that puts a +1/+1 counter on something, I won't be able to block that anymore. So I don't really need to save the 1/1s back to block, I feel. Now I have a shock as well, so I'll probably end up shocking the Lightwalker. Our opponent is on heavily armored as their white theme. which is about +1/+1 counters, as you can tell from Lightwalker, and their black one is Reanimate, I believe, which is obviously about reanimating cards from the graveyard, bringing them to the field early. So there's a Crypt Lurker that allowed them to discard Bulwark Giant to draw a new card. I'll go ahead and just shock the Lightwalker and get it off the board. While I've got that mana open, because I am probably going to be using all of my mana every turn from now on. Deciding if I want a Vastwood Zendikon or Awakener Druid and Ornery Goblin. I think I'm going to Vastwood Zendikon. I like having a 6/4 out, even if it's tapped for now. I'll have a 6/4 next turn, which will be pretty nice. If I draw a basic land next turn, I'll just cast Ulvenwald Hydra, but if not, I can start sending in with my big old forest. Opponent does have a Bulwark Giant out now, though. They did Rise Again that, so they reanimated that to the field. So if I send in, I'm trading my forest for the 3/6, because they can block with both. So I guess I'll just make some Goblin tokens to block with, and I'll just hold on until I can grab my 6th land. Once I have my 6th land, I'm just going to put Hydra on the board, and then I can definitely start attacking, but right now, I don't think I actually trade that well with my large creatures, and my small creatures can obviously just get blocked and killed very easily. Crushing Canopy is really not what I'm looking for. They don't have any flyers or any enchantments, and that's the only thing this can kill. I guess I'll animate another forest, and then at the very least I've got tons of blockers, so I'm not under any pressure, but I do really want to hit lands. I want to hit the 6th land for Ulvenwald Hydra, and then the 8th land for Wildheart Invoker's ability. Both of these are going to be huge, huge threats to break through this board stall. The Ulvenwald Hydra obviously is just going to be a massive creature, and then Wildheart Invoker will make any of my creatures worth sending into combat, which is very nice, because then I can just start sending in with a 1/1 Goblin. Worst case scenario, all I'm losing is a 1/1 technically, but best case scenario, it's attacking as a 6/6 and trading off with something that is much better than it, or just doing 6 damage. So I really like the Wildheart Invoker. Very powerful in limited games. Alright, there we go. There's the 6th land for Ulvenwald Hydra. I am just going to tap these to cast that. Sure, I am tapping 2 of my creatures, but as you can see by my board, I have a million creatures right now, so I have plenty to block with. And I really want to cast the Hydra not only to have a 7/7 on the board, but also to grab that land so I'm 1 mana closer to Wildheart Invoker's ability. I'm only 1 mana away now. I've got 7 out of 8. They're going to secure the Hydra, but that's 100% fine with me. If I can just get my 1 mana for Invoker. Invoker is, I would even say, possibly a bigger threat just for making my goblins very dangerous. So now I just attack with 1 goblin a turn and start killing their big stuff. Potentially. Probably just doing 6 to them. I suppose they don't have any like Death Touch or anything, so I could send in with my 2/2 Goblin instead. I can't send in with any of my lands. If I send in with one of my lands, I won't have enough mana to give something +5/+5 and trample till end of turn, because I'll be tapping a land to do it. Alright, I'm just going to save this mana in case they have something that gives like -X/-X or something. I could have spent that mana to do 5 to them, but just want to play it a little safe here. Because if they have something to like give Wildheart Invoker -3/-3, I'd like to pump them up. Ooh, Cathar's Crusade is a really big threat. I'm actually glad I have Crushing Canopy now, because there's the first card that I could actually use this on. And I'm definitely going to use it on Cathar's Crusade. There was another good reason to not just deal 5 damage to them that allowed me to hold up Crushing Canopy in case anything like that happened. So that worked out very well. Got to kill Cathar's Crusade and still have my mana up to give +5/+5 the next turn. And they're just going to send him with everybody. They must have some kind of instant or sorcery in their hand. If not, this would be kind of the scoop attack. So we'll just chump block that one. Every other block we're making here is going to kill their creatures. So this might be the concession attack here. Yep. So my board state had just gotten too oppressive. I had several creatures that were matched in size with their biggest creatures, my 6-4 and 4-5, basically equal with their 3-6 and 3-4, even a little better. And then the Wild Heart Invoker, the second I got enough mana to use its ability, that allowed me to just push through the board stall. So that is going to end this Jumpstart video. This might be the longest Jumpstart event video that I've made, but let's check out what our final rare is before I head off for the day. It is Atali Primal Storm. It does say first, but this is a reprint from Rivals of Ixalan, so I already have it from Rivals of Ixalan, and unfortunately there's no duplicate. Excuse me. Unfortunately there's no duplicate protection in Jumpstart for cards that you already own from other sets. That is the biggest flaw with Jumpstart on Arena. So definitely an unfortunate pull there. Does not feel the greatest, but every other rare we got here was fantastic. We got Ulvenwald Hydra, we got Muxus, and we got Exquisite Blood. So really good pulls out of this Jumpstart event. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, make sure to stick around for more videos. They kind of just happen whenever I've got the time, but the 100% schedule for my channel is on twitch.tv/GomletX. I will stream every Friday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time right now. So that is where you can definitely catch me live playing Magic. As for the YouTube channel, I do spit out usually several videos a week, so just stick around, like, comment, subscribe, all the goodies, and you'll see some more videos. So once again, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon for more Magic Arena content. Thank you.